certain teams couldn't even dream of making it to the postseason are now the ones leading the pack. Be careful who you call ugly in high school, folks, because with age comes a lot of change.
So I'm basically saying look out for the Bengals because you just never know what the hell's going on, and they've got a red-hot quarterback.
Not every NFL franchise can sustain consistent winning for decades at a time, like the Green Bay Packers, New England Patriots, and Pittsburgh Steelers. Some teams enjoy their moments in the sun, then fade into irrelevance. Others need to endure years and years of misery before growing into contenders. Here are 5 once proud NFL franchises that are now a joke, and 5 once sad franchises that are now legit. Joke: New York Giants. The late George Young is widely credited with turning the Giants into a model NFL franchise once he came aboard in 1979. Young, Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, and Lawrence Taylor established a winning foundation in the Meadowlands following a miserable decade-and-a-half stretch from 1964 to 1978. In the early 80s, the G-Men emerged as a juggernaut. Led by a feisty and punishing defense, New York claimed Super Bowl championships in the 1986 and 1990 seasons. They gradually fell out of contention following Parcells' 1991 retirement, but the team remained relevant and in the playoff race for many years. In the 2000s and early 2010s, the Giants remained a model organization. They reached 3 Super Bowls and won the last 2 with Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin leading the way, defeating the mighty New England Patriots in Super Bowl 42 and 46. The Giants missed out on the postseason in 2012 with a 9-7 record following their title defense. Little did the G-Men faithful know that this would mark the end of their long era of success and the beginning of their disastrous downward spiral. New York made the postseason once since their Super Bowl 46 season a decade ago. From keeping Eli Manning for way too long, to drafting Saquon Barkley over a quarterback, to reaching for Daniel Jones, everything has just been a disaster since 2017. The Dave Gettleman era was an absolute mess, to say the very least. Everything about this franchise has been a clown show. Legit. Los Angeles Rams. People paid little attention to the small market team that drafted a few standout players and burned through coaches after the glorious greatest show on turf era. If anything, the Rams mostly garnered attention for keeping 7-win master Jeff Fisher on as a head coach for 5 painful seasons. Don't 2 straight losing campaigns usually get you fired nowadays? But the Rams immediately turned a corner after hiring 30-year-old Sean McVay as their new head coach in 2017. Sure, he inherited a talented roster led by Aaron Donald, Jared Goff, and Todd Gurley, but just look how much McVay changed this team's fortunes. The Rams have experienced 5 winning seasons in McVay's first 5 years. That includes 4 playoff berths and a trio of NFC West Division titles. Talk about consistency. McVay's innovative offensive mind helped unlock the potentials of Goff, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and the rest of that high-powered Rams offense. The 2017 Coach of the Year has also seen 3 of his former assistants become NFL head coaches: Matt LaFleur, Zach Taylor, and Brandon Staley. GM Les Snead has thrown all of his chips into the center of the table time and time again. Who needs first-round picks when you can acquire proven stars like Jalen Ramsey and Matthew Stafford? Snead and McVay have been a dream duo, and it's why the Rams are in a great position for many years to come. Joke: Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys were the NFL's golden franchise in the 90s, with 3 Super Bowl championships and 6 division titles. Now, the Cowboys don't quite rack up the losing seasons like the Giants or Jets, for instance.
Ow, my pride.
So why are they a joke? Well, the team has only gone 26 years and counting without a trip to the NFC title game. For a team branded as America's team with superstar talent all across the roster, they continue to underachieve. Their glaring lack of playoff success for a quarter century is simply inexcusable. And when you throw in all the arrogant Cowboys fans who bring up the 70s and 90s as if those Super Bowl titles just happened yesterday, now that is a joke. Legit. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Aside from their Super Bowl 37 championship season in 2002, there has been very little for the Bucs franchise to celebrate since their inaugural season in 1976. From 2008 to 2019, this team failed to win the division once. They went 14 years between NFC South Division titles, from 2007 to 2021. Like the Rams in St. Louis, the Bucs were often ignored in Tampa's small market. This team failed to find a starting QB following the Jeff Garcia era. Josh Freeman, Mike Glennon, and Josh McCown just didn't cut it. Jameis Winston showed some flashes here and there, but the Bucs never made the playoffs in his 5 seasons and only had 1 winning season. Even the hiring of Bruce Arians in 2019 did very little to garner headlines. But then the Bucs signed some goat named Tom Brady in 2020. Then they brought his old friend Rob Gronkowski. Of course, these 2 future Hall of Famers have done more than just sell tickets. Brady and the high-powered passing game ripped opposing defenses apart, and the deep but often overlooked Tampa Bay front 7 continued to grow as a fearsome unit. The Bucs entered the postseason as a wildcard team in 2020, but they won 3 road games en route to a Super Bowl 55 appearance, where they steamrolled the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. As long as Brady is here, the Bucs will be legit and on the football map. Joke. Chicago Bears. Good thing the Windy City was blessed with the 90s Bulls, followed by the 2005 World Series winning White Sox, the Blackhawks 3-ring dynasty, and the 2016 World Series winning Cubs, because the last decade and a half has been mostly a disaster for the historic and, well, once proud Bears franchise. Since the Bears' appearance in Super Bowl 41, this franchise has had 3 playoff appearances, 1 postseason win, 5 different head coaches, 4 general managers, and 0 star-level quarterbacks. This team isn't as big of a clown show as others, but the foundation and culture that George Hollis built was not based on the idea of constant mediocrity. It's inexcusable, especially for Bears fans who grew up watching the 80s juggernaut that won a Super Bowl in the 1985 season. The awful Jay Cutler contract, drafting Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, Cody Parkey's double doink, those are just a few of the heartbreaking tales for this club of the last decade and a half. Let's hope Justin Fields can finally end the misery and restore some pride in Chi-Town. Legit. Cincinnati Bengals. The 2011 to 2015 Bengals were a mixed bag, if you will. With Marvin Lewis, AJ Green, Geno Atkins, and Andy Dalton leading the way, Cincy won 2 AFC North Division titles and reached the playoffs 5 straight times. The result, though, 0 postseason wins. They held on to Lewis for 3 losing seasons from 2016 to 2018. They desperately tried to squeeze out a competitive window with an aging roster, but it led to them getting nothing for Dalton or Green when both eventually walked in free agency. This franchise looked to be in disarray for the long run, but the first overall pick of the 2020 draft netted them LSU quarterback Joe Burrow. Suddenly, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. The Bengals hit a home run by signing Trey Hendrickson and Mike Hilton in 2021 free agency. They drafted future star wideout Jamar Chase with the number 5 selection, reuniting him with his former LSU teammate. And all of a sudden, the Bengals were lighting up opposing defenses with their deadly aerial assault. Their defense reached a new level as well with Hendrickson and Hilton. And Zach Taylor's brilliant offensive mind catapulted the Bengals to first place in the gauntlet that is the AFC North Division. The 2021 Bengals weren't done there, though. They finally won their first postseason game in 31 years by defeating the Las Vegas Raiders in the wildcard round. That was just the start of something special, folks. With a dynamic young core rounding out this offense, the Bengals promise to be among the AFC's elite for many years to come. Joke. Washington football team. The football team was a feel-good story in 2020, winning the NFC East Division title in year 1 under new head coach Ron Rivera. But they did it with a losing record at 7-9. And 1 year later, we were reminded once again just how terrible this franchise really is. Despite entering the season with high expectations, Washington fell back to earth in 2021, finishing 3rd in the NFC East with a 7-10 record. What more can we say about this team that once won 3 Super Bowls under Joe Gibbs? With 3 different quarterbacks, mind you. They have one playoff win in the new millennium, and that was way back in 2005. The total disregard of Robert Griffin's knee injury in his rookie year derailed a promising career. They let Kirk Cousins walk and have gone through how many quarterbacks ever since? Throughout 2020 and 2021, you then heard about all the horror stories regarding the toxic work environment under Snyder, who basically pleaded ignorance. Attendance remains a problem in Washington, and FedEx Field is frequently taken over by opposing teams' fans. This right here all starts with Snyder, who simply does not seem to mind the embarrassment that he's overseen for more than 2 decades now. Legit. Tennessee Titans. Patriots. The Titans were among the top Super Bowl contenders in the Steve McNair, Eddie George, Jeff Fisher era. But following consecutive playoff appearances in 2007 and 2008, the Titans endured the darkest era in franchise history. From 2009 to 2016, the Titans never made the playoffs and had just 2 winning seasons. Vince Young never became a franchise QB. Chris Johnson entered his twilight years much earlier than expected. But then, in 2016, the Titans hired John Robinson as their new GM. He went on to draft future stars like Derrick Henry, Kevin Byard, and Jack Conklin. Tennessee posted 4 straight 9-win seasons from 2016 to 2019, making the playoffs twice. Then, in 2019, Robinson acquired Ryan Tannehill from the Dolphins for pennies on the dollar. The veteran quarterback revived his career and emerged as the franchise's long-term starter. He ended up leading the Titans all the way to the AFC Championship game in his first season with the team, though eventually losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. 6 seasons under Robinson have translated into 6 winning seasons, while 4 years of Rabel have resulted in 3 playoff seasons and 2 division titles. The football team in the Music City is officially relevant again. Joke. Denver Broncos. The Broncos suffered consecutive losing seasons in 1971 and 72. Remarkably, they wouldn't do that again for the next 4 decades. But that streak ended when the Broncos went 5-11 in 2017 and 5-11 in 2018. Needless to say, that's not what the Super Bowl 50 champions envisioned. Vance Joseph and Vic Fangio didn't pan out as head coaches. Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler, Case Keenum, Drew Lock, Joe Flacco, and Teddy Bridgewater all tried and failed as starters for the Broncos. As a result, the Broncos have now endured 5 straight losing seasons, and they missed the playoffs in 6 straight. What the heck happened to the winning culture this franchise built under Pat Bowlen and John Elway? Legit Buffalo Bills. This team didn't have a single playoff appearance from 2000 to 2016. Not to be Captain Obvious, but all Buffalo had to do to return to relevance was hire a smart GM and a genius head coach. In 2017, they did just that, hiring Sean McDermott as the new head coach and Brandon Beane as the GM. Buffalo's 18-year playoff drought ended when they qualified in 2017, though they fell to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the wild card round. Beane traded up for Wyoming QB Josh Allen with the number 7 pick in 2018, and it's been all uphill from there. All Allen has done in his first 4 seasons is emerge as a top 5 NFL quarterback. Much of that is thanks to the additions of Stephon Diggs, as well as the emergence of Cole Beasley and Dawson Knox. Buffalo qualified for the postseason again in 2019, and in 2020, they won the AFC East and made it to their first AFC championship in 27 years. Then in 2021, Buffalo successfully defended their AFC East crown, proving 2020 was no fluke. So with a top-notch GM, coach, and quarterback to go along with a plethora of playmakers across the field, these Bills will be a powerhouse for at least the next decade. And hey, maybe even longer. But what other once proud NFL franchises are a joke? And which sad ones are now legit? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.